In the first half of the 20th century, a number of popular writers promoted the notion that average, everyday people have the capacity to dream great dreams and make those dreams come true, partly through something called the power of positive thinking, the title of a book by the Reverend Norman Vincent Peale. Meanwhile, the general drift of psychological research has supported the notion that human behavior is heavily influenced by assumptions about the world we live in and by visions or expectations we either inherit from others or create for ourselves. It wasn't until the second half of the 20th century, however, that scholars and practitioners began systematically to harness the tangible power of mental imagery. Some of the more obvious and interesting developments have come in the field of competitive sports. In the 1960s, a new athletic training regimen was developed based on ancient principles of meditation and concentration, but infused with the insights of modern psychology, generally called imaging or visioning. In the 1968 Olympics, a number of champions and near champions credited their excellent performances partly to this practice, which requires athletes to relax and concentrate on a mental picture of themselves competing in their own event flawlessly. Meanwhile, they're encouraged to imagine as vividly as possible all the sensory details of their performance: the feel of the shot put or the javelin, the sound of the crowd and the other athletes, the smell of the track or the equipment. In these ideal imaging exercises, the athletes always perform flawlessly. And through these exercises, coupled of course with appropriate physical training, they measurably improve their times, their distances, and their scores. Subsequent research has corroborated the proposition that real physical skill and even muscular development can emerge out of imaginative exercise. Perhaps this conclusion should not be too surprising after all, since real physical activity itself involves communication between the brain and the muscles, which is exactly what goes on during an imaging or visioning session. Imaging as an exercise is essentially nothing more than forming a desired vision in the mind's eye, filling it out with sensory details and repeating it over and over until it becomes second nature in the muscles and the nervous system. Just as repetition of a physical exercise builds a capacity for instinctive performance based on habit and reflex response rather than conscious decisions or force of will. At this point, the vision can function as a self-fulfilling prophecy. It comes true because we expect it to come true and because our nervous system has learned how to make it come true. The end result is not guaranteed victory over other competitors, who may, after all, be practicing the very same imaging exercises. We can't all win gold medals through imaging or visioning. Gold medals, after all, go to only one competitor in each event. But we can all improve our performances over time. And in a team effort, even a small improvement in the performance of each team member can become a significant improvement in the performance of the whole team, not just in competitive sports, but in any group, organization, or community. The key is not simply positive thinking, and it's certainly not wishful thinking. Rather, the key is mental rehearsal through imaginative vision, coupled with old standbys like hard work, discipline, and perseverance.